What's the point of what you're doing? Just watch the conversation and shut up. It's time. It's time to respond to my angry comment section about a controversial video that I did for many atheists. I'm not sitting straight up. I'm slouching a little bit. I'm leaning back in my chair because there's a lot of comments, so I better get comfortable. It's time to respond to them. Here we go. I'm Marco. This is In Between Sundays. If you would consider, before the video starts, liking the video, subscribing to the channel, leaving a comment, let me know what you think. I'm responding to the comment section, and I try to do that, so let me know what your thoughts are if you agree or disagree. I really would appreciate your feedback. Also, consider supporting the podcast on Patreon. I really would appreciate that. I want to make the podcast better in every possible way, and with your help, I can do exactly that. All right, so here it is. Here's the video, and again, I got a lot of comments on this. A lot of YouTube doesn't show the dislikes, but I definitely got a fair amount of dislikes on this video too. Now, at the time that you're watching this video, I have a grand total of 153 subscribers. All right, now 153 subscribers, 1,600 views 4 days ago. It caught the algorithm. Obviously, there's not that many people watching me normally who just aren't subscribed and just watch the channel. So it caught the algorithm, but the funny thing was it caught the atheist algorithm. It caught the algorithm of the very people who would hate everything about what I said, and they did. They absolutely hated it. Okay, so let's see what they had to say. There's a lot of comments on this. Some of them were really funny because they were roasting me. And if you don't know this about me, my entire life is one long roast battle. I've been made fun of a million different ways, and I was just telling this to someone. There's nothing that these commenters can say to me that I already haven't said in the mirror. So it was really enjoyable to see some of the people who were roasting me, but there also were some very substantive criticisms, and I think there were many misunderstandings too. So I want to respond to those honestly. I just care about truth, and in fact, I said exactly that. I want you all to know I'm really appreciating and thinking on your comments, criticisms. I'll actually respond to these in the video soon. Hopefully I'll have it out by next week. I'm interested in truth, just like you are. So let's try to find common ground there. Thanks for giving your thoughts. Now again, a lot of comments here, a lot of upset people. I can't respond to all of them at length, but I will do as much as I possibly can. There's so many. There's so many comments here. A lot of people telling me why they stopped watching. This guy says stop watching at 7:30. You don't even consider. Okay, so let's talk about it. Okay, so I'm sorting the comments by top comments. So that's the order that I'm going in, the order that YouTube gives me if you sort it by top comments. Number one, Gervais doesn't say that life is meaningless. He just states that there doesn't need to be a God to give life a purpose. The commentator's comments are intellectually immature. I'm the commentator, and those are my comments that are, according to them, intellectually immature, says Jenna Giai. Okay. So, Gervais doesn't say that life is meaningless. That's the claim here. And again, you remember in the podcast, Stephen Colbert, if you haven't seen it, you better go watch it because a lot of this needs some context. Stephen Colbert said, why does this exist? And he goes, it's not about why. And what I said was, this highlights one of the problems with atheism, that they say that there is no why. That is a problem. That is a problem when it comes to defining morality. Again, there are some people who are intellectually honest about this, and they say, hey, what the Nazis did was bad, but it's only subjectively bad. It's not objectively bad. It's bad because we think so. We've evolved to think so. But again, we can't really say that it is objectively bad. Okay, that is not a position I will ever be comfortable with. I will never be comfortable with saying the Nazis, what they did is bad just according to me. It's not bad objectively because there is some higher standard, some higher moral law. I brought up the moral argument that Ravi Zacharias used to give, that if there is objective evil, there is objective good. I believe what the Nazis did is objectively evil. Maybe that's controversial. I don't think it should be. But if there is objective evil, there is objective good. And if that's the case, then there is some moral law on the basis of which we differentiate between good and evil. And that can't come from us. Otherwise, it is not objective. It is subjective. And we can't hold people to those standards because it's just subjective. It's just my feelings, my evolved sense of opinion. I'm just like an animal that would just tear something apart with no emotion, no feelings about that on an objective moral level. And so if there is a higher law that transcends us, our humanity, our subjectivity, then there must be a moral lawgiver. Where did that law come from? It didn't come from nothing. It came from somewhere. Therefore, that moral lawgiver is God. That is basically the argument here. That's what I'm saying here. I'm not saying that Ricky Gervais says that life is meaningless. What I'm saying plainly is that what he says underscores a problem with atheism, that And it's the moral argument. It's that if there is no purpose for life, again, then that's just a terrible argument to make. There is a purpose for life. If there is objective good and evil, therefore God exists. That's my response to that. Next comment. Morality is not dependent on religion. The purpose of our existence is to seek and experience stimuli. Okay. Okay, let's say I grant that. Based off what? Based off of what? What's your objective reason for that? You say that's the reason for our existence, but based off of what? What is your reasoning for that? What's your objective reasoning? Why should I believe that? That the purpose of our existence is to seek and experience stimuli. Okay, so does that justify objectively evil things? Again, I'm going to keep on coming back to the Nazis on this one. This is a hard one for a lot of atheists to deal with when it comes to subjective and objective moral values. So if they were seeking and experiencing stimuli, what does that say about the morality of them? It's not dependent on religion. So on what objective standard do you judge the Nazis? And again, on what objective standards? You can't just say, well, what they're doing is against what I perceive to be the laws of evolution. What they're doing doesn't benefit humanity. Why do those things matter? Why do those things matter at all? I would encourage you to watch some Frank Turek videos on this. Really, really good on just following this line here. Why do those things matter? Why are those things good? Very important questions to be asked. Next, God exists in the same way Santa exists. It is a belief held in the mind of the believer in illusion. I actually make that argument when it comes to idols in the Bible. They're called gods, right? Psalm 97:9, God is highly exalted, far above all gods is the language there. And again, they are gods in the sense that people make them their gods. They're gods in the sense that they are created by people. They exist in that sense, but they don't literally exist. I disagree with this comment, though, obviously. God exists. That's my position on this. Next, morality isn't objective, it is subjective, and it changes over time. And science isn't a thing that is right or wrong. It is a process. It is the most reliable process we have in understanding everything around and in us. Okay, so again, I have a real problem with the argument that morality is subjective. It's just wrong according to me. On what objective basis then do you judge the Nazis? Is your position really that what the Nazis did is only bad because you feel like it's bad? That's not a sustainable position for me. How could you punish anything? If you're going to say, I don't know if this is really wrong right now, but I'm going to punish you anyway because I think that it's wrong right now, is that really just? A lot of people who are atheists are against the death penalty, and in part they say it's because, well, we don't know. Maybe more evidence would come out and that guy is actually innocent, so we shouldn't have the death penalty. That's a fair argument. That's a fair argument for coming against the death penalty. Would you apply that with the Nazis, though? Why did we punish them? Why do we have the Nuremberg trials? Maybe one day we'll find out because of our evolved sense of morality that we should not have punished them. So maybe just don't punish them. That way you can be sure that you never made a mistake. Next, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Absolutely, I agree with that. I don't know if you're for or against what I said, but yeah, I agree with that. Okay, cool. After this numbskull comment right here, that's me. Next, saying there is a purpose for the creation assumes that existence is created. We don't know that is the case. Also, an atheist saying, I don't know, doesn't mean you win. Asserting God did it doesn't mean it's true. If you want to believe that, you can, but the assertion is not compelling. It's simply an argument from incredulity. We shouldn't be afraid of saying, I don't know when we don't. It might not be satisfying, but at least it's honest. Sure, I can understand that, but I basically agree with most of that. Just because an atheist says, I don't know, it doesn't mean that he's wrong. It just means he doesn't know. I'm not sure what I said that means that I disagree with that at all. All right, next. This commentary is just immature. You are dumbfounded in your faith. I get that you believe, but the fact that science has constantly proven is that it would come back. The God that you believe in would not, because it is not provable. Sorry for my English. That's fine. Your English is fine. Again, the argument there, what I was giving in the video, is that science, for every time that it's proved right, it's proving other things that were considered to be true science wrong, right? So there is an evolved sense in science of what is right. That happened during the pandemic a million different times. This is the right thing according to the science. There is an evolved sense in science of what is right. They say this is right, this is right. Oh wait, we did some more studies 5 years later, 10 years later, and we figured out that was actually wrong. Now this is actually right. So what does that say about that back then? Science isn't, the modern science that we have today. Are we going to say that that's just infallibly right? No, we shouldn't. Right? Obviously not, because a lot of it, what we say is right today, is going to be proved wrong tomorrow. And we said it was scientifically right and proven today. That's just what's happened over science over the course of humanity, essentially, especially modern humanity. So with that in mind, you say that this is absolutely proven, but again, it'll probably be proven wrong tomorrow, like so much of it has been proven wrong. That's just simply the case, and I don't know how you can get around that. Now, whether or not people believe, there's debate even amongst Christians on whether or not belief in God, whether or not the existence of God is provable, and the word empirical comes into play a lot with this. Either way, I can make the argument very solidly that there is more reason to believe in God than there is to believe in the other explanations out there in like the Big Bang Theory and things like that for the existence of the universe. Okay, this is a long comment. For the sake of time, I won't read it. Feel free to pause the video. Okay, that was your chance to pause it. Basically, this person is saying, why is a divisive question? There's no reason for asking the question, why? Why do we exist? Why do we exist? And then what this person says, bdog2513, is, it doesn't matter why. What matters is that you have a life, and most would like it to be a good one. So punishment for doing bad and morality in general is necessary for life to be decent, and so we aren't killing ourselves in a barbaric, chaotic way. Why is it important for us to live what you consider to be decent? Why is it important for us to have an existence where we aren't all killing ourselves in a barbaric, chaotic way? Why should we have good lives? Why should we have peaceful lives, as peaceful as possible? Again, on an objective level, I need you to prove that to me. I need you to tell that to me, that on atheism or whatever he says he's an atheist, in that belief system, why does that matter? Why is that good at all? You can't give a good answer for that. You're just going to say it's good because it feels good to me, or I think it's good. But on an objective level, why should we punish things if we can't even establish that living a peaceful, quiet, calm, not barbaric, not chaotic life is a good way to live? There is no standing to justify that, punishing other people to preserve that kind of a life, because you can't establish why that life matters. I'm not really sure about this question. I wonder whose scientific theory has Galileo actually disproved, by whom he was condemned. Galileo came against geocentricity, right? And was imprisoned for that. And that's the history. I highly doubt I got that wrong, right? And if I did, blame the LA public school system and everything I've read online since then. Okay, so the why is our ID or lizard brain? All life forms are compelled to survive. Even rocks and dirt have endured and adapted to exist this long. Why do we do anything? To be safe, feed ourselves, and hopefully procreate. Why does the universe exist? As Gervais said, outside of science, I don't know. So why do we do anything? And he gives whys. And again, I need to know, this is a common theme, why objectively does it matter to be safe? Why objectively does it matter to make sure that we feed ourselves? Why? Why does that matter? Again, this is in regards to objective evil and punishing people who stop us from being safe, punishing people who don't allow us to feed ourselves, punishing people who don't allow us to procreate by things like murder, things like robbery and all that. Why should we punish that objectively? You would say because these things matter. So establish for me objectively why these things matter. That's the claim that I'm making here, and I don't think that's a crazy thing to ask. I still haven't had an answer in this comment. Science is always proving itself right. Okay, except in the case of geocentricity. Hey bud, faking a nerve. Geocentricity wasn't ever found using science. Interesting. Science is always proving itself, making hypotheses from observation, testing them, keeping the ones that repeatedly work and discarding the ones that are proven false. That's just factual, and we can't say the same for religions. Interesting. Bud, geocentricity wasn't ever found using science. So what was it found using? How did they come up with that theory? They came up with that theory through their abilities to study the universe at the time. Isn't that interesting? So when their abilities improved, their perception of what truth is also improved. You know what that is? It was called science yesterday. It's called science today, but the conclusions are different because the means of study have improved. That's literally what my argument is. This is not against my argument. It was found using science, but again, their conclusion got better because their method of study got better. The evidence got more ample for them. That's basically the argument here. What you're saying doesn't disprove what I have said at all. Next one, at 542, could you answer that question? I think that's the way that this person is asking. Can you answer that question? And the question is, if you don't look back at the video, is why is it good? I'm saying, why is it good that humans should flourish when it comes to atheism? Why is it good that we should take care of each other? Again, that is my argument against atheism, against the ideas of morality and objective or subjective morality on atheism. That's my argument. So he's saying, could you answer why it's good? Yes, absolutely, I can answer why it's good. It's good because Genesis Genesis 1:26, we are made in the image of God to reflect God and to glorify God in our lives. And being made by him, we have a responsibility to love him, to serve him, and to love God, to love our neighbor as ourselves, the two greatest commandments. That is why it is good. Now, I think that this person is trying to catch me in something that is commonly used against Christians. I think they're trying to catch me in Youth Pro's dilemma, which is basically this conundrum, this binary that people get put into. Is something good because God said so, or is God analyzing what is good and saying this is good? And the way this works is, if I say something is good because God said so, then good becomes arbitrary, right? And then if I say, no, God analyzed out there what was already good and he's just telling me, well, then there's something out there that's greater than God. But that binary doesn't exist. There's another option here. Something is good not because God randomly decided arbitrarily, and something is good not because God figured out what was already good and is just relaying that information back to me, and therefore there is something greater than him. Something is good because God himself is perfectly good, and whatever comes out of him is the outgrowth of goodness. He is the originator of goodness. One of the most common Christian sayings is God is what? Good. Not God has discovered good. God is learning goodness. God himself is the foundational essence of what it means to be good. So when God declares something is good, he is speaking from his own good nature and not discovering things out there in the ether that already exist that are good. Dr. Nuke 7393, if you read the God Delusion, all the somewhat basic questions will be answered. He'll come across much loftier stuff too, because this level of argument is theology 101. I've already started to look at the God Delusion. I read parts of it years ago, but I'm looking at it all over again, and I'll report back to you. Okay, nearly all cultures around the world also did human sacrifices, witch burnings, and so on. Nearly all cultures did it. Therefore, it's good and true isn't really a good argument. Okay, so you misunderstand my argument here. The argument that I made in the video was not that if humanity tends to do something that it makes it good. In fact, I would never argue that. What I'm saying is, and what the question that they were dealing with was, is there an inherent nature to do this, to pursue after God? That's what Stephen Colbert was saying to Ricky Gervais. I feel this inherent nature in me to want to thank somebody greater than me for the life that I have. And so my response was, yes, human beings have this inherent desire to seek after God, an inherent desire to thank him for everything that they have in their lives. We see a belief in God in all these ancient cultures. So for the human sacrifices, witch burnings, and so on, have humans gotten their idea of morality wrong, separate and apart from God? Yes. Is it a human tendency to commit sin, to murder people, to do horrible things? Yes. That's not against my argument at all. In fact, it even bolsters my argument. The fact that evil, murder, horrible things, sin has been in every single culture is evidence that there is some problem with us as broken humans. That's literally my point, my friend. WLC, William Lane Craig's arguments aren't good, so saying that Colbert isn't him is a good thing. Okay, so Colbert's arguments were better than William Lane Craig's? I'm sorry, buddy. I have to disagree with you there. Okay, you win the award for longest comment of the comment section. Press pause if you want to read it, and now I'll go down. Press pause if you want to read the rest. Okay. So he's giving this argument in the first paragraph for the fact that our bodies break down. Isn't that bad design on God's part? Again, if you understand the Christian perspective on this, it's not bad design. God made us upright. God made us actually to live in these bodies forever. But the reason why we don't is because of the fall of Adam and Eve and being cut off from the tree of life, presence with God forever and ever. So now we need redeemed new bodies. If you read the Bible, you will see exactly that. And we will have that in eternity with God. That's number one. Next paragraph. Evolution also made us care for our fellow human, at least the ones close to us, our family, tribe. Again, how you're just saying, and the argument is made a little bit later, that we punish people because evolution makes us want to punish people. But again, if there is no objective reason and it's just our feelings, why don't we just say, let people live and exist? And he even compares us to the animals. When animals murder each other, we typically don't go, hey, well, let's throw that lion in jail because it murdered a gazelle. We go, no, that's just the way it goes, right? They're animals. All right, so if we're just like animals, but we have feelings now because of evolution about these things, why don't we just ignore our feelings? Because we know that this doesn't matter anyway. Why don't we do that? I need an explanation for exactly that. The Bible's rules are not the best possible rules. And he basically says, how can we come up with things like physics and all that, but you think we can't come up with laws on how to live your life like don't kill people? Again, I'm not saying that human beings can't have those laws or can't figure out those laws on their own. In fact, most cultures do oppose things like murder and things like that, but that's not against my argument at all. In fact, that even bolsters my argument that there is an inherent nature to seek after God. And Romans chapter 1 verse number 20 funny, looking at what we can learn about God outside of his word in the creation does kind of lend to that. We accredit it to evolution. I credit it to creation. So again, I really need an answer for these things. This person tries to invoke the name of Inigo Montoya against me. How dare you, sir? Don't you ever use Inigo Montoya against me. But yes, I do think that it does take faith to be an atheist. And that book, I think someone told me, is by Frank Turek. I would recommend that you read it. Okay, top one. And wow, I just stumbled on this discussion. Whoever this host is a head in the sand, agenda-driven nut job, totally unwilling to apply his critiques to himself. My suggestion to him is that before he speaks, he should look in the mirror. Science actually tries to prove itself wrong. When the elements of the Bible are found to be ridiculous, theologians bend themselves into a war, ... There is no see more or anything. I don't know what happened there, but... hey, man, there isn't anything you can say to me that I already haven't said in the mirror, like I said a little bit earlier. I don't know what you mean, though, by apply my critiques to myself. I think I've thought about these things a fair bit, and I think that atheists have not thought about these things because of their false confidence. Next, why do you require morality to be given? Can it not just have evolved? I think I've already answered that. Braden Shelley, speaking of why, I have some why questions I know this guy cannot answer. Why, sir, are you so handsome and well-spoken? Why do you make reason arguments instead of just appealing to emotion? Why are you making good content and making it accessible for free? I bet you can't answer those whys, buddy. I love Braden. The only why I was considering was why write a comment that would hurt this YouTuber who is putting forth some effort into making a commentary over what he genuinely seems to believe is the right worldview. Next, problems with atheism. What are you talking about? Next, rational argument. Start with facts, I guess. Is there proof that God exists? No. Is there proof that the universe is 13.8 billion years old? Yes, we can measure it by research and science. So I think that the rational argument is that it would be weird if God made the universe and only put us here like 13.79 billion years later. Again, I reject the notion that there is no evidence for existence of God. You're just assuming that going into it. I reject that completely. So I can't respond to your argument if that's your presumption. I reject your basic premise. There is God and the sun is a pizza. All right, awesome. There is no problem with atheism, and of course we care about the why. Still no reason to push the God of the gaps in that tiny hole. People explain thunder, illness, floods with God, and we know better now. We are made to, and we didn't know better aren't really that different. People made up thousands of different gods in history. It seems obvious that people tend to make stuff up if they can't explain it. They were wrong about their gods and wrong in their reasoning. We learned that lesson over and over. The only reason that Christianity have the Big Bang or something out of nothing, whatever that means, as the last hill to die on. Okay, I think with the other comments, I've kind of answered that one enough. Moving on. God is as real as the tooth fairy. Believing God means you are lacking something in your life. We created God. You know, it's kind of funny. I technically agree with that middle part. A belief in God means I'm lacking something in my life. Yes, I know that I lack God. I lack I lack his presence in my life in so many ways. I absolutely agree with that. The last part, we created God, completely disagree. I need to see the evidence for that. Okay, this person said they stopped watching because I don't even consider the fact that there is no purpose to anything. I think I gave a lot of attention to the idea that whether or not there is no purpose to anything. I gave a full argument for and against that in the video. So again, how could I respond to that if I reject your basic premise again? I did give consideration to that, and I gave even a critique of that idea. So I don't know where you're coming from. Ricky Gervais is way smarter than you. Maybe, but he's still wrong. No, Ricky says you know nothing more about the universe because of your Bronze Age mythology. Okay, disagree with you there. I don't know what this says. Yeah, maybe someone who speaks whatever that language is, Portuguese. What's the point of what you're doing? Just watch the conversation and shut up. What a great last comment. You know, if you want to watch the full conversation, I was watching it on YouTube. You could watch that same full conversation unedited without my beautiful face in there. Okay, I really want to know what you think about that. Again, these are just my responses here. I care about truth. I'm not just trying to establish something. Again, would my life be easier if I didn't believe in God? In many ways, yes. But I've come to this conclusion because I believe that it is the right conclusion. And these are my reasons for doing so. And this is why I think that many of your reasons are wrong. So let me know what you think. Am I absolutely off base? Am I crazy? Am I going to get flamed even more because of this? I hope not. But if I do, I really want to know what you think. I just want to arrive at truth. I love you. God loves you. And if you don't believe in him, guess what? He still loves you, man. And I still love you too. So God bless you. Consider liking the video, leaving a comment, subscribing to the channel, supporting on Patreon. I will see you soon. Take care. Goodbye.